Hello friends, this is Scott, and here we are at my home garden, and this is my raised container bed that I've been growing the garlic in for many years. And about every 3 years I change all the soil out of this container because it gets wore out. And this year was proof because I had a terrible garlic season. I did plant the garlic later than usual, but nothing really grew in this bed this year. That doesn't mean the soil is not still fertile. It's just it tells me that the garlic has used up all the nutrients that the garlic needs. But there's still nutrients in this soil that can be used for other vegetables. And so I'm going to repurpose this soil down at the hobby farm where I'm making a lot of new planting beds and I need lots of soil. But I'm finding myself spending lots of money on a lot of different projects down at the hobby farm, and I don't want to spend money on soil. So I'm going to make, and I have been making, the garden beds on the cheap using free materials. And so as you've seen at the hobby farm, I've already put down cardboard. I've screened lots of soil, which I put on top of the cardboard. And then this material will go on top of the screened soil. And then I'll be bringing other amendments and things down that are hopefully all free. I may have to spend a little bit of money on, the top layer and get a little bit of some good compost to plant into. But most of these garden beds are going to be made by using free materials. Because if you're going to spend lots of money on soil, as much as I need, it's going to be a lot of money, thousands of dollars. So I don't want to spend thousands of dollars on garden beds. I'm going to make good fertile beds, healthy beds, organic produce with using free raw materials. Now by free, I mean the actual raw materials, but the labor's not free. So again, I'm about an hour and 15 minutes to an hour and a half from the hobby farm, and I need to get these raw materials down there. And what isn't free is the labor, and the gas. So got a little extra cardboard I'm going to take down, so I'll stick that underneath so it doesn't blow out. And I'm going to use all that soil from that raised container and load up the truck and take it down to the hobby farm and get to work. So it doesn't take a long time to empty this bed, but there's a lot more material here than the eye would tell you. So it's good stuff. It's got a lot of, what's been in here is I started out with, potting mix and peat moss. And I've got some bone meal and blood meal, and I've got my own home compost in here. And it's all been mixed together. And I even have some oyster shell in here, it looks like, where I'd spilled some of the chicken oyster shell and threw it in this bed for some calcium. So it's got lots of good stuff in here. And again, the garlic used up what it needed. But now I need to add some other materials. But that's the empty bed. And I will be taking this down to the hobby farm. And because I have gophers, I need to figure out where I'm going to bury this. And I'll plant into it with some crops so that the gophers aren't going to get in there. So it'll all come to pass. And digging this up, I found some volunteer garlic that I'll take down and plant, and a few onions. But that's the garlic. It's small, but we'll go ahead and plant it to see how it does. So let's stroll over to the truck and see how much material we got out of that raised bed. And yeah, there's quite a bit. So I'm excited to bring this down and take a little drive. And can't drive without having it tarped up because I'll have it all blow out and the other drivers won't like me too much. So I've got it all tarped up and weighted down and ready to take a trip. So we made it down to the hobby farm safe and sound, just backing into the back driveway. And as I get out of the truck, you see who's with me? It's Mr. Lincoln. Yeah, he's usually with me on my trips down here. He likes to come down here and enjoy himself. So I'm going to open up the back, and then I got to get to work on making the bed ready for this new material. And again, we have the cardboard down, which is to smother weeds. And that's the screen soil that I've been working hard on from the big pile of dirt, or the big mountain of dirt I got in the back there that I've got a lot more to get rid of. But again, it's free materials. If I was to bring in, all this material, by buying it, it'd be hundreds to thousands of dollars, and I don't want to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on soil. So I'm going to make these beds very productive over time, and I do the lasagna method. So I do everything in layers. I'm not going to till this garden. I'm just going to keep adding layer on layer, and then over time I'll let the organic life in the soil and the bugs and the worms and a little bit of mixing when I dig holes to plant plants, and this garden will take care of itself through the no-till method, and that's the plan. So anyway, just doing a little raking, just getting the cardboard covered up with this soil. Now the screen soil's got a little bit of clay in it. It's kind of a clay consistency, and so when it gets wet and the sun baked, it's a little bit clumpy. I want really nice, rich, loose soil with great tilth. So it's going to take some time to make, but it's just this is all a process, and this isn't a short-term goal, it's a long-term goal. So it's going to take a few years to get these beds to where I really want them to be, but hopefully they always just keep improving just by me adding more and more animal manures and other types of materials on top, and then let Mother Nature do the rest. So just doing a quick rake, and we'll get that material out of the truck, and we'll bring it up here, and we'll get everything ready to roll. I just want to get all this cardboard covered up so it's not sticking out. So here I am scooping the material into my trusty wheelbarrow. And as you see, the pasture is looking really, really green. It's really, really nice. I'm going to have the neighbor put the animals back on the pasture as his is wore out, and my grass has grown quite a bit. So that'll be something I'll be doing here. We'll be doing in the near future, is getting them back in there for a little while just to do a final munching of the pasture before winter hits. But I'm going to show you how far my trip is to move this material from the back pasture. And I got my trailer in the way, so I can't quite get as close as I'd like to be, but it's a short trip. Go around the big old tires that I'll be using for another adventure in the future. I won't talk much about that today. But see how many wheelbarrow loads of this I'll get out of this truckload. And there's one. There's two. Numero tres. And then we have number 4. And last but not least, I think we got number 5. So yeah, it wasn't a ton of material, but that's still a pretty good haul. And yeah, so I'm excited about that. I got to get that raked in. But there it is. That's how much material was in that raised bed. Again, there's going to be other layers on top of this, so I'm not worried about making it all nice and pretty. But I do want to get this material kind of spread out a little bit, so I'm ready for my next load, whatever that might be, to bring down. So I'm just going to rake it out a little bit. I do want to have a little bit of a raised bed to it, so as I add more and more material, it will get taller, and I'll have a little bit of a rounding effect to it once I'm ready to plant. But you need to plant garlic here the next couple of weeks, so I've got to get down here with some more materials. Probably might be horse manure. I've got some access to free horse manure that I've showed you in the past. Might be my chicken run compost, or it could be my compost from my static in-ground compost bin that I need to screen. That material is really moist right now. I've been doing a little overwatering, I think, and with all the rain, so that's a little bit hard to screen. But I'll be bringing all that material up here, and I really like my home compost because it's full of compost red wigglers. But there's the empty truck, ready for the next adventure on the materials I'm going to bring down here, hopefully free materials. But again, if I was to spend money and buy all this soil and compost and everything else, I could be spending hundreds to thousands of dollars. I don't have the money for that right now. I've got that. I need to spend money on other projects. So we'll do our best with free material, and we'll still have a great organic garden when it's all said and done. Well, thanks for watching this video. And if you like what you see, please hit that like button, subscribe, and give me a comment, as I'd love to hear from you. Thank you.